Oh my god, that's throwing me back to, like, LimeWire days
Yeah,
now. I'm getting,
exactly.
like,
That was basically
flashbacks.
that was basically your downloading platform was LimeWire,
Oh,
everything.
yeah.
But
And then there was that whole thing, and then they turned it into FrostWire. Were you a
oh
part of
yes,
that?
yes, Frostwire. Yep, yep.
Yes.
I think they had to like go away from LimeWire because porno and all that
There was
stuff
a whole
started.
legal
Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah,
got,
yeah.
like, ugly.
Welcome to the Deep Podcast. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, Star. Welcome back to the Deep. And this is the podcast where we dive deep into different subjects, different topics, or whatever we want to talk about, we just talk about. You know what I'm saying? And just like last week and the other episodes, we have another guest in the building, and it's the one, the only Miss Kayla. What's up, Kayla? How you doing? How you doing? Thank you for coming on the
Hey.
podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate you having me here, man.
Of course. I mean, you have any beginning words before we get this show going?
Uh, well, my name is Kayla. Again, I appreciate you having me here on the show. I am a Twitch streamer, content creator, mental health advocate. I'm really excited to get into some of these topics today and just kind of go in the deep.
Go into deep. Speaking of the deep, have you gone like swimming and or at the beach or is it just the pools and stuff like that?
Yeah, I actually went to the beach for the first time like 6 years ago, and I was like, oh, it's so much colder than it looks in the movies.
Wait,
Uh,
where'd you go to the beach at though?
Huntington Beach out in California.
Oh yeah, you went to the wrong place.
What? No, what's the right place?
Hawaii, of course. Come on
Well,
now.
I mean, that's a little further than the drive. I was,
I mean, honestly, I think the Mexico beaches are actually better than Cali's.
I have been down to Rocky Point now. 10/10 can agree with that. It was awesome. The water, you could just walk right into it. It was like a bathtub.
Oh, perfect, perfect. But but yeah, welcome in again, Kayla. Hope you enjoy this show. But we are going to be diving deep into different categories, like Kayla said, and we're going to be talking about mental health. We're going to be talking about social media, and then what was the other subject? It was social
Identity
self-identification,
theory. Social
identity
identity
theory.
theory.
Okay,
Yeah.
social identity theory. I have no clue what that is, and you guys, if you guys are listening, you guys probably don't know what it is either, and that's why we have Kayla here to explain. So we'll get into we'll dive into that later, but we are going to dive into this new segment that we're going to start on this show, and it's called Question Roulette. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Kayla 10 questions in under a minute or however long we do it. It's going to be short though, but she has to answer the questions quickly, and then just to kind of like see what she's all about basically. So Kayla, you
Let's
ready?
do it. Yeah.
All right, I got the questions for you. So you know what, I mean, honestly, I'll put the timer on, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. Let's
I'll put
go.
a timer on
Stretch.
real quick. So
All
timer
right. All right.
for, you know what, we'll do it for 2 minutes. Oh, I almost put it for 2 hours.
The never-ending popcorn questions.
Right, exactly. So, all right, we got these questions and I got the timer ready. So, the timer's going to start the moment I ask the first question. You ready?
I'm so ready.
All right, here we go. What is your all time favorite food?
Pizza.
Beach or mountains?
I don't like to climb. Beach.
Early bird or night owl?
Night owl.
What's your go to workout routine?
I check the mail on Tuesdays.
There you go. Dogs or cats?
Cats.
What's your favorite book or movie?
Star Wars.
Coffee or tea?
Neither.
What's the last thing you binged on Netflix?
Ah. Oh no, there's so many. What was it?
First one that comes to mind.
Boruto.
What's your favorite travel destination?
Mm, Probably Mexico.
And then last question, what's the one thing you've always wanted to try but haven't? 57 seconds.
Oh no. There's so many things. Scuba diving.
Cool, cool. All right. Well, what,
Yeah.
49 seconds left? I should have made it a minute because then you probably wouldn't have
I
gotten
think a
to the
minute
10
was enough.
questions. Right, right. It was. A
I'm
minute
pretty
was enough
quick.
because if it was a minute, then you would have gone over 3 seconds only. So yeah, I think a minute is good,
Yeah.
right?
I think it's about right.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty good. It's pretty fun.
Did you disagree with any? Have any of your own
Uh,
favorites to share?
well, the coffee and tea one, I agree with you on that. Like, I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm not a tea drinker. I'm just really,
Mm.
honestly, I'm just a water drinker.
Oh, see, I'm a soda binger, so it's like I could pass on the other two, but the caffeine, I mean, is still, yeah.
No soda for me. I mean, I got a bunch of water bottles on my desk over here.
Oh my gosh, you're that guy.
I'm
Okay,
that
if
guy.
we were
I'm
in
the
signs,
I'm
you'd
the
save
water
us.
drinker. Hey, no, no. The movie, I think we talked about the movie before with the Star Wars. Yeah, I enjoy, like, don't all you Star Wars lovers out there, don't shoot me now. It's not that I don't like the movie. It's not, I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I enjoy the movies and that's it.
That's fair. That's better than the I've never seen it. I'm like, you uncultured swine. Like,
When the new Star Wars movie comes out, that's literally all you see everywhere you go. Everybody dressed up as Star Wars characters. You got the Star Wars ads, the posters, literally everywhere. How do you
the
not
good
go and
days.
watch the movie, right? You know what I'm
Just so
saying?
you know, just so you know, you know?
Yeah, like you're not
Just
gonna
saying.
you're gonna go to the theaters, right? So picture this: somebody that doesn't like Star Wars or just doesn't want to bother watching it, they're gonna go to the theaters and they're gonna be standing in this long ass line, and then they walk into they walk into the what do you call it, the theater room, and it's completely empty, which can be a good thing, but you're gonna wonder, what am I missing out? Every other theater room is packed, but our movie.
See? You get it. You get it.
And
I
Star
like that.
Wars, right? Star Wars. I don't mean to go on about this a lot, but Star Wars
Oh
is
yeah.
one of those, I guess, franchises, right? That it takes up half of the theater rooms in the actual theater. You know what I mean? Like they
Yeah,
have
I do.
multiple times, like I think like 4 different actual rooms where they're showing every like 30 minutes, right?
Well, because you need every opportunity to see it because it's so good. You know?
Right, right. That's how. That's like one of those franchises, man. I can't. I can probably think of a couple other franchises that are like that. It kind of take over theaters. Probably like I remember back then when the Twilight series first started coming out. That kind of took over
Oh,
the right.
it was like a cult.
You're
Yeah.
right. It was a cult.
Yeah.
And the funny thing was the cult was separated into like Team Jacob and Team Ed.
Pretty much.
Pretty
Yeah.
much that's what it was. But but
Mhm.
guys, yeah, so we're gonna we were getting kind of sidetracked, but we're gonna get into our first subject. And Kayla, what is the subject again? Because I don't know what it is.
Yeah. No, so okay, like when I was like, in high school, college area doing psychology classes, they had called it tribal self-identification. Like that was the term that my teacher used in both courses. And as I was reading more about it, I realized that that's actually changed. And it's the social identity theory is more encompassing of what they're talking about. Like the other term has actually become something completely unrelated to psychology. So when you're talking about it, your social identity theory is the actual name of the concept that was developed in the 70s. Simplest way to describe what it is it's like trying to think here, the idea that being a part of a group, whether it's cultural or religious or your job or where you're from, like all these different things, those actually impact how you see yourself and your ability to connect with other people and your perception of the world. And it's inherent. It is an inherent need that you have to identify with a group, to cling to like-mindedness. And that was something that I thought would be an interesting topic for us to talk about, given all the things going on, like social media, things like that, that we had talked about previously a little bit in some of our talks. So
I kind of understand it a little bit more, but it's like something that I guess you would only learn if you, like you said, you learned it in the actual class of somebody teaching it. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It's not like I don't know, something simple out there that like I can just learn just walking to the next room. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. But it's definitely something you see without knowing you're seeing it. The problem that we see is that even though it's actually really healthy because it can make you feel really confident and connected to others and like you're part of like something bigger and you have a whole network, that you can identify with that become a part of you, you also become a part of us versus them, right? So like sports teams, right? Are you into sports? You a sports guy?
Mm-hmm.
Who's your people?
Who's my people? As
Yeah.
far as like, oh, like who's my team, basically.
Yeah.
So for I'm a big football person. I mean, basketball I'm fine with. Like
Okay.
I'm wearing the Celtics, so I like the Boston Celtics. But I
Okay.
got a bunch of jerseys on my wall, and we're Steelers fans over here.
Right. Okay. So Steelers make it to the Super Bowl and the Steelers win. How you feeling that whole rest of the week,
Feeling
man?
like we're on top of the world, baby.
Damn right you are. Now flip that coin. Steelers lost. How you gonna feel that week?
Well, before I was, I let it get to my head, and I got frustrated, and I was like hating other. Well, I don't want to say hate, disliking other people that would like make fun of me, whatever. But now, like because I have a better head on my shoulders now, I like accept it. You know what I mean? We lost, I accepted it, and I'm like, hey, next year we got it. You know what I mean? Like I move on
Yeah.
already.
But right there. So a couple of things. First of all, the knee-jerk reaction term, I hated, because it's inherent. It's a strong emotion that we identify with when we become a part of that collective. And then when you say, I deal with we lost, you're a part of them. You don't play for the team. You're not, like, but it's you're with them. And
Right.
so anything that happens, there's consequences to your self-image
Hmm.
is the interesting thing about it, I think. And it's, like I said, empowering, right? It's an empowering thing, but it can also be a very dangerous thing. And the more we're having things kind of accessible and these niches and genres and you can like reconnect with people who are kind of more like-minded,
Hmm.
you see more benefit but also more danger in that.
So the danger is like you slowly are becoming dependent on it. Is that like one of it at
um
least?
I think that's kind of a pretty good way to put it, like dependent for sure, because people lean on those sorts of things to make themselves feel correct, justified, confident.
Right.
um if you guys say that the sky's blue and other people say the sky's purple, but you're with the blues and it looks like you're right based on all this evidence and stuff like that, and you're so smart and you're the best, and then one day someone drops some evidence, actually it's purple, we've been seeing it through rays that reflect off like whatever,
Right.
all of a sudden you're crippled by that, and it can really be harmful for you. And I mean, I think in a louder way you see it obviously politically, where people feel one way really strongly and then they like connect really deeply with people who also feel that way, and it just creates a lot of unnecessary conflict, like in us as people. And even though some of those things are helpful for you as an individual to feel identified and to feel cemented in your beliefs, whatever they may be, it's still a dangerous way for society to function when there's so much more access to that, the social identity theory side, where you're just clinging to these groups and it's changing who you are and how you treat people. Does
Right.
that?
Right. No, that makes sense, and it's a tough thing for sure. Like, for me, I always preach to people, and I always tell this to other people, or my friends and my family, that like us as human beings, we are made to be connected emotionally, are made to be connected or have some type of connection with other human beings. That's just the way that I hate to bring religion in this, but that's just the way God made us to be. And I think I brought a good example to, I forget, I don't know if it was you or somebody else, but God could have created a bunch of people one time, but he just created Adam and Eve so that they can find that connection to each other. You know what I'm saying? And
Right. Yeah.
as long as you have, like, there's always, I mean, regardless, we're talking about like the people clinging onto other people or groups or whatever, but if we just break it down to just one person, that could play into what we were talking about right now, right? Like you're very dependent on that one person or whatever, and it's like as if you can't live without them anymore, and then it somewhat becomes unhealthy. But I think I think to counteract the unhealthiness of what you were saying is people are not educated as far as like having those healthy boundaries. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Oh, yeah.
I think that'll play into in that aspect of what you're talking about with the what is it called again?
Identity theory.
Social identity theory. I think
Mhm.
having healthy boundaries helps it balance, I guess, that out. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, 100%, because it has everything to do with, and I don't wanna jump ahead in some of the things I know we're gonna talk about, but it all boils down to mental wellness and health and well-being. And that social identity theory now more than ever is something that we see creating a lot of problems and then becoming mental health issues for people, particularly through the power of social media. And I'm sure you can probably think of a few circumstances or creators maybe that you maybe follow on certain platforms, things like that, and the effect or influence that they have on you personally.
Oh
And
yeah.
and
Yes.
it impacts you. It impacts you the way that you see them, and even being like a supporter. Like I'm a big Supa fan, So if Supa's out there doing his thing, or he's streaming, he's podcasting, he's growing, he's doing good. Like I'm stoked. I'm stoked for it. I'm a part of that community, that following. And if you say, oh, this is how I feel, or this is something I support, like we're behind you in that. So there's power in that too, right? And I think a lot of us don't realize how much power we have when it comes to things like that. And that's a part of the theory as well, is like I said, how you choose to interact with others. On the flip side of that, the conscientiousness as a creator in the type of influence that you create, and the
Oh
way it
yeah.
can affect people.
Oh yeah, for sure. And when you brought up social media, and then social media has changed the game just in the whole world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
everybody. If you're not on social media, then you are definitely living under a rock. And I, you know what? I'm now that I think about it, some people are actually not in a good place right now. So maybe I shouldn't have said that. But social media still, actually, you know what's crazy? Social media still is in those third world countries where internet's not the best, or you know what I mean? And like they have
Yeah, you're
like,
right.
even though they have the flip phones, Facebook is on flip phones, so they have the Facebook app that's social media. So
Yep.
I guess I'm not, really stepping over a line on that one, right?
I think you're safe. I think we're okay.
um, but yeah, you brought up social media, and social media, like I said, it's a big game changer for, I don't know, the past decades. You know what I'm saying, into this
Oh
world.
yeah.
And I think that social identity theory has played into a big part. And you were talking a little bit about the power of social media, like how and a little bit of the influencing between creators, between viewers, and between of just members who just have the app or whatever and scrolling through TikTok and stuff like that. But how much of an impact or how much of an influence is social media now? And like maybe differentiate how much it affects for each generation, because there's Gen Z, millennials, and then the baby boomers and stuff like that. So maybe yeah, give me your thoughts on that. Like how, has it like the same amount of effect across the board, or you know what I'm saying?
Hmm. That is interesting. Because even that changes every day, right? I mean, I know there was a time when the thought of our grandparents even knowing how to use email was like foreign. It's like, oh my God, they're never going to get past the dial up to log into AOL. And now I in my own career deal with a lot of clients who are a little older, more established, if you will. And it's wild. Some of them are better on their iPhones than I am. Okay. One of my coworkers is, a little older than me, a generational gap for certain. And TikTok is her favorite platform. Like she is on there, she is scrolling, she's sharing funny videos. I'm like, you don't even know how to like do this or that, connect your headphone to the phone on here, but you can do all this on TikTok. So I think it's hard to get a clean picture maybe of what that looks like, since it's changing every day, at least with that generation. And I think because you and me, we're in the same group, right? We're hanging out millennial style. And I don't know how it's been for you. Like, when did you first get into social media? When was your first phone that wasn't a BlackBerry? Like, where you could have an app, you know?
Oh, well, my first phone actually was the little block Nokia. where only the
Oh
only
my
thing that I
gosh.
the only thing that I could play or do was actually call, text, and then play snake.
Right. Like that was it.
That was it. But I think when I even actually, you know what? Even when I got the Razor, I don't think we was able to access a social media app yet. You know, the
Oh
flip Razor
shit.
phones.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
The
They were pretty
the
plain. Oh
the
my gosh, we're
best
so old.
the best socially, I guess, connection thing that we could do with our flip phones with the Razor or the Crazer or those the Sidekick. Oh, you remember the Sidekick?
Oh,
Uh, was basically was emails. Emails was a big thing for that part. But to like connect socially with other people was Bluetoothing each other the ringtones. I don't know if you did that before.
oh my gosh. Holy
Bro,
shit,
it's
man.
like
Okay.
somebody had a song
All
that I
right.
didn't have. I'm like, oh, hey, I'll give you this song if you give me that one. You know what I mean? Bluetooth it to me.
Right. Oh my god. That's throwing me back to like LimeWire days
Yeah,
now. I'm getting
exactly.
like
That was basically
flashbacks.
that was basically your downloading platform was LimeWire.
Oh
Everything.
yeah.
But
And then there was that whole thing, and then they turned it into FrostWire. Were you a
oh
part of
yes,
that?
yes, Frostwire. Yep, yep.
Yes.
I think they had to like go away from LimeWire because porno and all that
There was
stuff
a whole
started.
legal
Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah,
got
yeah,
like ugly, but
yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Uh,
But yeah,
no, yeah. I
get
think
on that side.
my first social media platform I ever was on. I want to say it's MySpace, MySpace
Perfect.
and Tumblr. I think that was the two things that I started on.
Oh, Tumblr After Dark. Okay, so MySpace is the perfect example, and I think most millennials, that was their first, like, other than maybe like instant messenger, AOL type style shit. Like, MySpace was the initial social media platform, okay? That being said, if you think back to MySpace, the interaction it created and the social status that came with those interactions and the customization. So, like, your MySpace page was literally a representation of you. A lot of people took their MySpace page very seriously. It had specific music, fancy backgrounds. You had your, what was it, top 5, and then they changed it to like top 10 or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, that was some fancy shit. And it was like you got moved to a different space on that top 5. Something happened. Ooh, you're gonna have to talk to Jessica tomorrow. You know, like that was some real shit. And you know, the people who got moved would be hurt. They'd call you crying. I mean, it was so personal.
Yep.
And all it took was the whim of a person and a click of a mouse to
Yep.
ruin how that person felt that day, right?
Yeah. No, for
So
sure.
yeah, like when we talk about impactfulness and the power of social media, even at the earliest stages, as much awesome as there was, like, oh, I'm in, you know, the top, whatever. Oh, like, cool, we can talk now when I'm not at school. All these awesome tools. There's still always that, like, uh, and that's what we started with. We were kind of the blossoming generation of that.
Yeah.
And I think it kind of got away from us. I don't know if you ever feel like that. Like it sort of went from us using it to us being used by it. Maybe in
Yeah.
some way. It's
No, it makes sense.
like because
That
we're the
makes sense.
product now.
No, it makes sense because a lot of people are like so consumed with social media. That's literally what people do every freaking second of the day. I mean, if
Yep.
you go to a restaurant right now, almost 99, I probably say 99% of the tables, somebody's on their phone.
Well, and I'll tell you what, you're going to notice you lost your phone before you notice you lost your wallet.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
What is that? Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
it's like so invasive, but it's so awesome too because you get
Yeah.
to connect with, you know, like you and me, like we
Yeah.
met online. It's awesome. So,
Yeah.
like, I'm a big social media fan, but I do see how it's kind of tipped the skills because I don't think anybody realized how much power it would have
Yeah.
um, over how we feel about ourselves and our friends and the interactions that we
Yeah.
suddenly became capable of.
I think us millennials have an advantage over, the older generations and the new ones now because we had a little taste of both worlds, really.
Right. And we're
So
the last ones.
yeah, so it's like we know most of the new technology nowadays. Man, these newer generations know more than us. The technology is crazy, but we know a little bit of the old life and how it used to be, just for a little smidget of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, my mom would lock the door and be like, "Figure it out outside. It's called outside." I'm like,
Exactly.
"Fucking raining."
But no, so and now we're moving into the what is the generation now? Gen Z, or is it?
Right.
Oh no, I think
Yeah,
the
I think
no, I think it's Gen Alpha.
no, no, no.
No,
Right under us is Gen Z.
no, Gen Z, and then well, I'm talking about the Gen now, because there's a Gen now,
Oh,
and
like
then
my kid, like my 2-year-old?
yeah, like your 2 year old, it's
She's gonna be Gen Alpha?
yeah, it's Gen Alpha, and then guess what the Gen after that is?
Don't tell me beta.
Beta.
I can already see the social media wars between the alpha and beta. That was a fuck up. I don't
We're
know
gonna
who
be like,
fucked that up.
we're gonna be like, all right, Gen Beta, everything that you're gonna have is all gonna
Oh,
be in beta mode.
oh my gosh,
You would
Supa,
never,
no.
you were never gonna finish anything because it's just beta.
You're so ridiculous. You're not wrong. It's asking for being bullied, I feel like, by naming it that. That's all right.
I mean,
Fine.
it's the same
That's fine.
thing with like Gen X. Like the Gen X thought that they were kind of the everything. Well, maybe not to that extent, but like,
I think every generation feels that way. Like, kinda, right?
well, there for us, at least us millennials, a lot of us didn't like. Remember, there was that like negative stereotype of being a millennial. You know, like, oh,
Well,
they're
yeah,
just a
but we
millennial.
just handed it down to Gen Z, and now it's like, oh, you're a fucking Gen Zer. Blech.
Well,
Like,
they're like so dependent on technology, and it's like they never go outside. They never, you know what I mean. They never explore their options and what they could do in careers. Everything is social
mhm,
media.
mhm.
Everything is on their phone. That's how. I mean, we had a little bit of it too, but that's how parents punish their kids now. Like, oh, no more screen time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's only because now there's like, studies and bullshit that tell them that wasn't okay. Like, what? Like, your parents never said, "I'm gonna take the TV if you don't knock it off," or like,
They,
"I'll take the video games, you don't knock it off." They took it, right? Like,
yeah,
we started it, and now we're pissed off because they're just like us. Like, one of my homegirls, her son loves gaming, and she was like, "What the hell?" Like, now he's watching people playing video games. He's not even just playing them. Like, I don't understand. It's like a whole weird concept. And I was like, "Bitch, do you play football?" No. What do you do all day Sunday? You know what I mean? You watch people.
yeah,
Like, don't you binge watch Netflix all day? Why the fuck you worried about if he goes outside?
yeah.
Like, we can't hold the next generation to a standard we don't even fucking hold to ourselves.
You're
You
not
know?
wrong. You're not wrong. I mean, we had a little bit of that. Obviously, the TV and the what was it, like the early Game Boys and all that stuff for our technology part.
Mm-hmm.
But we also had, you know what? I mean, yeah, I kind of like went back on what I said. Yeah, but we also had we also had the punishment of like, oh, no more going out with your friends, no staying out late and all that stuff. I mean, we still do that now, but they're not gonna go out as much as we did when we were younger. You know what I mean? Or like the gen
See, but
before
I'm
us.
seeing them go out more
Well,
than
now
I did.
because
Yeah, because they have way more access to connect to each other and go do shit than we ever had. Like,
compared
and a lot
to
more of them are driving and stuff.
but
Well, I'm
compared
from Georgia,
to compared
so
to
I'm like,
compared to so you're saying there's more kids that go out compared to staying home playing video games or on their computer or watching, some kind of streamer or whatever. I think it might be a close 50-50, but I think
mm.
there's more kids staying home and playing their game, playing their video game.
Yeah, but is that the same kid that would have been, at his neighbor's house on the couch doing the same shit?
I mean, that's kind of
It
like
just
us. We would
okay. I mean,
yeah.
you like, what are you gonna say right now? Like, we doing us, right? Are we
Yeah.
okay? Like, should we go touch grass, man?
Right. No, 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 that's totally understandable. But yeah, back to social media, man. Like I wanna talk about like the different influencers and like we were talking about how the impact of social
Mhm.
media and yeah, we kind of talked about the technology itself, but I think that plays a factor into it, but the bigger factor that plays into influencing is actual people that's, I guess, in a way famous, with likes and followers and subscribers and all that stuff. Not actual
Mhm.
actors but all these big time content creators on YouTube have such a big influences on even our generation and the next ones. You know what I
Oh, yeah.
mean? So like,
Oh, yeah.
if somebody, if let's say Mr. Beast, right? If Mr. Beast does something, I'm pretty sure 9 out of 10 kids are gonna try and do the same thing that that guy just did. You know what I mean?
Wait, Imma try and do it, yeah.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, exactly. I watch Mr. Beast all the time, and I'm like, I have all these ideas of like, okay, he does his videos like this. Okay, I need to edit my videos like this in not exactly the same, but like,
Like, the inspiration,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Oh, yeah,
But like these
absolutely.
influencers are like, it's basically a whole nother category of celebrities, basically, right?
Right, and I think it's cool because a lot of times it's more diverse is probably the best word to use, and I
Hmm.
think that that in itself is impactful and positive and a nice change of pace. You know, like I follow all kinds of different creators, and there's this one, and I don't honestly know handles. I know their faces and their pictures, so you'll have to excuse the fact that I don't know who the hell they are. But he does these hilarious TikToks, and he's handicapped. He's in a wheelchair, and it'll be like, you know, some clip of a movie where this guy stands up and says, "Face me like a man and stand da 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 da," and then it pans to him, and he's like, "Okay," and he's trying to do it, and it's fucking. It's comical, you know, but then he also does all these things that are very much so promoting like the joys of everyday life and like being on top of things and being awesome and happy and seeing like the bright side, you know, and just wanting to be treated normal. Like he combines that with the comedy. He's so himself, and you can't help but love him. And you gotta know, like, if you are in that community of people with disabilities, that's gotta be like so empowering to see someone like you, successful, funny, loved. You can be all those things. You can be yourself and be loved. You know, like
Right,
that part of it.
right.
So
Question
I
though.
think that's cool.
Question. So with all these
Mm,
influencers and all that stuff, and like, you know, they're obviously making money and this and that. Like,
yeah.
would you say that there's a point in their, I guess, content creating career that they are just doing it for the money, and they're like, okay, you know, I donated to charity here, so maybe if I donate again, I'll get paid again. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
the intention behind doing certain things kind of start changing over time. And I know not all creators are like that, but I feel like there is a lot of creators that just do stuff just for the clout. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, and I think that's human nature. But what's like an example?
What's an
'Cause there's gotta be
example?
someone that comes to
No,
mind,
no,
right? That you
no. It's just my mind. My mind always goes on to like, you know, with some negative things that like potentially could happen. And you know, I feel like, because I mean that, because that happens in like the regular like entertainment world, where you know, actors star in a certain film or a certain story, even though they don't necessarily like making romantic movies, they'll just do it just because they're going to get paid.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? So like, I feel like there's going to be some, there is maybe a handful of
there
influencers
is.
or content creators that just do what a dude. You know what I mean? Like, I know there's some streamers, and I don't want to call them
Right.
out. I don't want to
Uh-oh.
call them out, because I have maybe a few in my head that like, I feel like they're just doing it for the clout, and they know because they do stupid stuff that like people are gonna come and watch. You know what I'm saying?
I do kinda actually on that vibe, 'cause there are, like, some weird cringy types of things where I'm like I don't have words for it, and like you said, I don't wanna name names or anything, but I'm like, "Well, that was a choice." Like,
Right.
why are you even what are you even trying to accomplish with this? Like, I'm just like, you know, hmm.
Do
But
you
I agree
think
with you.
do you think you would ever get to that point, like say you blow up on, you know, on Twitch, and you start getting some good income and all that stuff? Like, do you think like, I know it's hard to say because it's the future, and like you never know what's gonna happen, right? Do you
No, I see it clearly, and I'm gonna be a power money hungry bitch face. I'm gonna do all kind. Everything's gonna be an ad. I'm gonna have bumper stickers on my forehead. And just kidding. No, but I mean, like, I could say the same for you, right? Like, let's say that day comes. Like, would that be enough to drive you to what you're doing? And even if that's the only reason you're doing it, at some point, it's like, okay, if I'm doing it and I'm gonna make money doing it, as long as I'm not harming anybody. I mean, like, what would you have them do if not just continue, I guess, to be successful,
I mean, I
right?
don't know, whatever they want to do, you know, but like some, I feel like some people forget, you know, especially with money. some people forget that money comes and goes, and it could be gone at an instant, and they just start doing stupid stuff, and then they fall into, like, the rabbit hole, and then they never get back to it. But
Mm,
I guess my whole point behind
okay.
everything is just being smart, and like your intentions behind continuing what you do. Because like for me at least, like if I do become big, my whole plan is to, I'm going to
When
continue,
mhm.
hopefully. My plan is to continue to, do what I do, still have this podcast, and maybe probably stream most likely, and make some content and all that stuff, and make this a thing to where I don't have to actually work, you know what I mean? But
Right,
what I really want to do is do something similar to what Mr. Beast is doing, and where I make YouTube videos where I'm giving away money, or giving back to charity, or helping out homeless shelters, like literally everything that he's doing. That's like exactly what I want to do. Maybe I don't have to do it in his way that he's doing it, you know what I mean?
right.
But
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that's what I want to do, you know what I mean? And
I love that.
I think the whole thing, what I'm trying to say is, like, if I become big, I just want to make sure that my intentions are pure, my intentions are from my heart, and not just doing it because I want to make more money. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So that's I think that was my whole thing behind what my question was. Like, do you think
Okay.
there's social media influencers and streamers that just do it just because they know they can get paid? Yeah, yeah, they know that it's a good thing to do, but then their whole intention behind it is like, yeah, I'm gonna get paid because I'm doing this good thing. You know what I mean?
I see. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. I'd say there's people out there doing that. I mean, and particularly those examples, like when you're doing feel good stuff, I mean, I don't know if there ever comes a point where you're only doing it because you're making money, because it's like, I mean, you gotta feel good, given
exactly,
that,
exactly,
so it's like, I'm like, I don't know, they're pretty high on life joy. But I'm sure there's just similar circumstances and content where it does become like that. And you hate to see that happen. And I feel like I've kind of seen it actually with a few people as I'm starting to kind of think through and process it myself, where like you kind of see them lose the quality in the content and the passion. Like they
yeah,
do change as a person. And I don't always know if it's just from success that they start that shift, or if there's things in their personal world that are kind of becoming more apparent, and they're dealing with their own things. Um, but I'd like to hope I never get there. I mean,
yeah,
it's just like, oh, that looks hollow.
yeah.
Probably a good word for it, right?
But
So,
that's when you have to help you with that kind of situation, right? You surround yourself with good people, people that have
right.
the same mindset, the same goals as you, or just have that great support that you would need, to
Hmm.
just because somebody you can have that. It's like good cop, bad cop. You have that
Yep.
person that's like not afraid to tell you straight up, like, hey, you got to cut that shit out. You know what I mean?
You gotta cut it out.
Hey,
Yep.
get
Yep.
get back on track. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely, I do.
And then you have the good cop to be like, hey, it's getting a little out of hand, but let's go. I'm gonna help you out. Let's go. Let's do this.
There you go.
Would you be just a quick side question? Would you rather be the good cop or the bad cop? And no matter what, it doesn't have to be in that scenario, but you can just be an
Bad
action
cop.
bad cop.
Hmm.
I think you'd be a scary bad cop for sure.
Yeah, I don't want to like, make you uncomfortable, but
It'd be
I'm like,
crazy
I have it in me.
if we were like actual cops, and we have to go into intimidate, interrogate whatever a suspect. I would probably, because I'm such a like I don't
Oh
want people
no.
to see that I'm mad, and so I guess I'll be the
Oh
good
shit.
cop.
You're gonna have to be, because I'm tired of pretending I'm not mad. So I'll just go in there full blown ready, like, look, punk, you know? That, by the way, would be hilarious. So here's just a side note. We'll just put it in our pocket. But if we both buy cute cop outfits, we can go out to content creators who we think may be derailing and take them into real talk, good cop, bad cop, and find out where their head's at and what their plans are and what they're going to do with this community anyway.
Yeah, we can even do the same thing, dress up in the same costumes, and
Mm-hmm.
just randomly ask people. We'll both go to them like this, and then we'll just ask them, who do you think is a good cop or a bad cop? They'll probably. I swear. I think all the females are gonna say you will be the bad cop.
Fuck. You think they'll smell it on me? Is it like a chick thing?
Probably, but no. Some
Damn it.
chicks might be like, I think they're playing a mind game, so I think the girl is the bad cop. You know what I'm saying?
All right, fine. That's fair. I would think that.
Yeah,
Oh
that'd be
shit.
fine, man. There's a lot of things that especially because we're in the same state and we could, you know what I mean, go and do funny stuff or heartwarming stuff too.
Hell yeah.
But
The warmest. I mean, it's Arizona, so that's all
yeah,
you
the
get.
warm is coming back. It's not that warm yet, but it is coming back.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So before we move on to the next category, I do want to just shout out to everybody that's watching. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening. So if you guys are on YouTube, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification button so that you don't miss any new episode that comes out. There's also YouTube Shorts that you guys can check out if you guys don't want to watch the whole episode. If you guys are on Spotify, feel free to leave a review on the show. It'll help out most definitely a lot. And thank you guys again. Hey, if you guys are not following, go ahead and follow. But we are gonna continue on, and just want to say that I'm really enjoying having you on the show, Kayla. I appreciate it. So, I mean, any thoughts on the show so far?
Yes. I just enjoy your company. I think you're a really warm, genuine person. I don't know if that's like a Hawaii thing. I've only met 3 people legitimately indigenous to Hawaii, but all of them have just a really warm, welcoming vibe, and I enjoy
Who's the other
everything.
people?
My homie Roland actually lives out here, too, and then Chwani. I always say her name wrong, but we worked at an insurance company together for a little bit, and she came from Hawaii to a training, and I met her in Indianapolis.
Oh,
And
nice.
gosh, she was such a freaking joy. We're still Facebook friends. She just got married to the flowers. The whole. So I'm an honored to be here, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to talk to you and get into the deep.
The deep, right? Well, speaking of the deep, we are going to be diving deep into a pretty deep subject, and like we mentioned earlier, we are going to talk about mental health and mental health awareness, that mental health illness, and all that stuff. And it's a subject. I mean, yeah, it can be a touchy subject, but it's also a subject that like needs to be out there. People need to talk about it. People need to acknowledge it. People need to because because it's a touchy subject. People tend to run away or pretend that it's not actually happening to them or another loved one or a friend and all that stuff. And it's not. And this is just to any issue, any problem in the world. You got to face it head on. You got to acknowledge it. That's the only way that you'll be able to fight through it. Is acknowledge it, figure out what you need to do to overcome it, and then overcome it. And it may not be as easy as I just said it, but that's how, like what I said earlier, you surround yourself with the right people, the right crowd, you'll have support with you. And I think that's what it's all about. But mental health, man, I know you said you're an advocate of mental health. In your definition, what is mental health?
A broad term
Yeah,
is
right.
probably the first thing that comes to mind. I'm like, all right. I mean, it's literally a state of being, right? So you're looking at your emotional, you're looking at your psychological, social, your interactions with people, your ability to think, process, all of your cognitive functions. So mental health is literally the wellness of your cognitive functioning, I think is the best way to put it.
No, that's the best way to put it. I
I
probably
was about to
wouldn't.
say,
I
how do
would.
you
I,
think it?
I probably wouldn't have explained it like that. I probably would have just said like, mental health is like something that's wrong with your mental in whatever aspect that you think is wrong. Like so mental health is something that's like out of the norm of what your actual personality is. That's probably what I would have said.
That is an opinion for sure. And I could get on the train, but I'm gonna take my own train and we'll
Yeah,
just
right.
have our own tracks.
I mean, we're on the same track.
Oh,
We're just on two different trains. But yeah, mental health. It's a big thing, man. It happens to more people than you know, and I think people don't realize that it's happening because one, they don't believe that it's happening, or they don't want it to happen, which makes them not want to believe it, right? and
right.
then and two is just they just don't recognize it especially with the emotional and the psychological part of it, it kind of hides within your personality, and you don't even realize that it's actually happening. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I actually had this conversation with one of my newer friends that I met via TikTok recently, and they were like, "Oh, I like that you're so open about it and you always talk about it and this and that." I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's the conversation's got to be fucking had. I'm tired of it being something people feel like they can't talk about or they're embarrassed about or that they maybe don't, like you said, realize is going on with them." And she's like, "I feel like I see it everywhere, but I don't really know anybody that has problems like that. So it's crazy that like I find all these people." And I was like, "Skirt, no." Like when you see me and we interact, I have bipolar disorder. I'm very open about that. When you see me and we interact, and you see like I'm hyper, I'm quirky, I do like kind of weird things sometimes, whatever the case may be. Sometimes even with my community, I kind of fall off the mat for a minute. I tell them, look, I'm not doing too great. I'll have to come back to it. When you see me, there's definitely someone in your brain, at least one friend or family member you can think of that you're like, oh my God, they would love each other. They would totally get along. They're so much like each other. That's the fucking person that has a mental problem. Like that they're just like that person, but you don't connect, like you said, because it's their personality. So you think they're just like super bubbly and maybe they disappear sometimes. But the truth is there's a lot more going on that maybe they don't know about or they haven't shared with you. So it's more prevalent than people know because like you said, the personality thing, and that's a fantastic point.
Oh yeah, for
I'm sure
sure.
you can think of people, right? Like
No, yeah, I can think of people. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
even like with you, I'm like, I see you. Wait a minute. Got that kind of mellow vibe. You think, I see you thinking. Like I'm like, oh, you're like you like what like you kind of like almost seem like a low key introvert that's extroverted online vibe. I'm like, I don't know.
No,
Like,
yeah, yeah. I never really learned that I was introverted until I actually started going to therapy. I started
okay.
like I knew like throughout my life that I had like the little introvert or the little shyness from time to time, but then like
Mhm.
I my extroverted side and the me wanting people to smile and to be happy that comes out overpowers the little shyness, and after I do
Right.
whatever I did, I'm like, oh, should I have done that? And that's the introverted side that would come out and say that, like, oh, should I have done that? Like, did I embarrass myself? You know what I mean?
Right.
But the
Yep.
extrovert,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
That's what it is, right? Introverts are worried about shyness or embarrassing themselves. Extroverts are they don't care. They don't give a shit if they're embarrassed or embarrassing
Right.
themselves. You know what I mean?
That was my goal, bitch. Like,
uh, but
mm,
that's like what I learned when I went to therapy, and I'm glad that you're open with what you got and all that stuff. Like I people that come and watch me stream, they know that I have a couple things that I was diagnosed while I was in the military, and that's a whole another story. The military and mental illness, mental health issues, all that stuff is such a different. It's the same thing, but it's also a
right.
different thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, yeah, absolutely.
Because and I think we talked about this yesterday. The military with any part of the world, because every country has their own military. Just military in general, they experience things that nobody else experience. Like you know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna put military in the category of first responders. First
Okay.
responders encounter traumatic events way different than other people. And I think the worst thing that regular people or people that are not first responders experience is, and don't shoot me. It's just opinions, but I think the worst thing that regular people do experience or like a traumatic event is if their loved ones die in their arms or in the same room, or like a parent passes away or a sibling, you know what I mean, on their watch. You know what I mean? That's
Hmm.
a super big traumatic event. But I think other traumatic things, oh well, we can go into like rape and all that stuff, but those are super traumatic too. But I feel like the things that these first responders experience is such on another level. It's crazy. Like seeing another human being die or being the one that killed that other human being. You know what I'm saying? Like how traumatic that can
Yeah.
be. So
Hmm.
the mental health side, and I know there's a lot of awareness in the world for to get military members or first responders help and all that stuff, but it's like oh man, it's like one of those things to where like somebody's got to do it. You know what I'm saying?
You're not wrong. Somebody does. And I think everyone's built different. I think people's ability to deal with stress is always going to be different. And I think that particularly for the people who I know that are first responders who are military, they're kind of a different breed. Just being able to get involved with it and having the drive and the mental stability
Yeah.
sometimes to just say,
But
yeah, I can do that, right?
is that a front though? Because some
For
people,
some of them,
yeah,
yes.
some people can front really well, and then in the back end they're really struggling. But then they're just like, no, I'm strong. But then they're getting eaten away on the backside. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because we're only human. And
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
said, somebody's got to fucking do it. But
yeah,
then as a society, it's our fucking responsibility to make sure when you come back from doing what you need to do, or for first responders, I mean, they do it every fucking day, sometimes their whole lives, that they have the support that they need, that they have the resources, that they feel comfortable coming to somebody. And in that respect, I think on an awareness level, we have done very little actually to help people. Like even in your circumstance, I don't think there's enough assistance available in a loud enough way. I feel like it's still kind of brushed under the carpet, and I just think it's a damn shame.
So yes, I was in the military, right? And I was diagnosed with major depression disorder, PTSD, anxiety, and all that stuff. And I had free services, great. And I worked with military therapists. I worked with civilian therapists, and that's I actually am a lot better. And I acknowledge that I've grown. I've grown a lot as a person. I've grown to learn a lot about myself, some of the things that I don't like about
Mm,
myself, some things I really love, and all that stuff. But when
yeah.
I got out the military, I mean, they still have the same services, but I feel like it's just not the same as if I was when I was in active duty. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm, okay.
I felt like I was getting a 5-star treatment, but like when I went
Yep.
to therapy after I was gone, like being a veteran, I think that's where we
Right.
mess up a lot is when we're veterans. It could seem like the same treatment, but really it's not. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like that's where we drop the ball is when these, people come back after everything they've put in, sacrificed for
Yeah,
their own well-being to protect ours.
yeah,
And like you said, you get a veteran status and all of a sudden you're like kind of hung out to dry, I feel like in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm glad
yeah,
you still have access to care, but like you said, there's a difference between 5-star care and
yeah,
2-star care in consistency and
yeah,
impactfulness. So I'm still so happy though that you got the care you need and that you feel like you're doing better, like
yeah. No, yeah.
making my heart all toasty.
No,
Oh,
but I
okay.
think so. There's also the those veterans, especially like the veterans from like the Vietnam War and 9/11, all
Yeah.
that stuff. Like there's a lot of veterans that don't want to go and get that help because they're not getting that treatment that they were getting. You know what I'm saying? So they're like, there's no sense of me going. I'm not learning nothing. But on the other end is it might just be them being stubborn. So
Mhm.
there's people that are just too stubborn to even go get help. But then there's also other people that they didn't experience the help that they've gotten while they were active, and so they feel like it's a waste of time. And like you said, I think that's where we fall short.
100%. And I have actually one of my friends that got out about a year ago didn't, I guess, get sounded like any kind of care while they were active per se. Like they always just were like, yeah, like everything's good, I'm good, and they went combat and stuff. So I was kind of like, oh, okay, like okay, some people I guess are. And obviously, with time, that's not been the case. So they went to get the assistance they need. And they had a terrible experience and they felt like it just made it worse. And then they were given medication to cope with the anxiety and the night terrors, things like that. And that started to help. And then all of a sudden they couldn't get a fucking appointment, to renew it. So it was like, you put like, okay, now you get them some help, something kind of helps, and it still seems half-assed, and then they end up falling off this medication that they're on, and now they're going through the withdrawal of that. I mean, it really fucked them up. I was
Yeah,
like, how could you do that to somebody who's, been through it? I
yeah.
get mad. I get really
No,
mad,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
But like you said, some people too are just too damn stubborn to.
To just go there like, nah, I don't. But that goes back to what I said. Like people don't
Mhm.
want to admit that they are going through something. It's a pride thing.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
It is.
It's a really
It
big
is.
pride thing, like especially for men. And I don't
Yeah.
want to speak on females, but I feel like females are a little bit, they I feel like it's easier for them to go and seek help compared to men, because men, we were raised throughout centuries that we are supposed to be the strong one, we're supposed to be the man of the house, or we're supposed to be the ones to push through every issue, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I do though.
it's that stigma that we were taught over the years and years and years, that like we don't go through this stuff, you know what I'm saying? Which kind of
Right,
sucks.
except you're human and you do,
But
right?
we don't realize that, you know what I'm saying?
I know, because you don't identify it. It kills me. But you know what
Yeah,
sucks is the reason it's so easy for us to get care is because it's fucking expected of us
I could,
to be
yeah,
weak and need help.
I could see that, I could see that.
So there's like two sides to the coin,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
both of
for
them
sure.
kind of suck. But I think it's more dangerous the circumstance that men are in than it is, like you said, for women who feel a little more like, I'm just gonna go get some, and men, it takes a little
Yeah,
longer to even identify that, oh my God, I'm feeling depression.
yeah, yeah,
They probably couldn't even define it if you asked the average Joe on the street, right?
yep,
Which is probably something
exactly.
we should do. Sir,
Yeah, right. We should, huh?
what do you think depression is? Go open up some eyes.
I feel
you
like
know?
I feel like nowadays everybody's gonna say like something along the lines of like, "Oh, depression is a mental illness." I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean that would be like, yeah, they're sick.
It's either that, or they're gonna say like, "Oh, depression is somebody being really, really sad."
Right. And so wait, so what what do you see it as?
I
Because it's also
I
I know
think
different for everyone.
yeah,
So
for
just
so I think depression is that certain amount of sadness that just consumes you, all your emotions, that's the only thing that you can feel, and depression puts you in that state to where you just feel lost and you feel lonely. That's just for me, that's what I
yeah.
how it felt for me when I was going through, or still am, I have my moments, so
Yeah,
but
I feel like as we were talking about it, I was like, gosh, if there's anyone listening who maybe is wondering, am I? Like I think coming from a man would be interesting to hear. And I'm like, yeah, I'm right there with you. I've had a lot of that same experience. So, and it sucks because, like you said, it's like you feel so alone. And the irony is that you're so entirely not.
yeah,
And even
exactly.
when you know that, it still doesn't change
Yeah,
it. And that's how you know it's a mental illness or wellness issue
yeah,
that in cases may require medication to balance those chemicals so that you're not feeling things that just aren't real per se,
yeah.
right? Like that aren't factually
Mhm.
based. Um,
There's
so
a
I appreciate you sharing that.
yeah, no worries. I At first I was super ashamed because of the manhood. You know what I mean? I was super
Hmm.
ashamed, especially to my family. My parents was like the last people I wanted to tell, because growing up, I was the oldest. I still am the oldest child of theirs. I was the oldest grandchild of my dad's side. And so I was always looked up to. I was always the example. I always set the example for everybody. And so I had myself on a pedestal for a long time, that I felt that if I showed some kind of weakness, then it wouldn't be good. You know what I'm saying? Which kind of sucked. And I didn't realize until I didn't I didn't real
Sorry.
I didn't
I'm
realize
so
until
sorry. I'm
right,
so
no,
sorry.
no worries. But I didn't realize until later on, until I actually went to therapy. So I'm gonna give you an example of what actually helped me realize, because what I was doing essentially was I was giving all of me to my family to make them happy, and I
Yeah.
was thinking, I was tricking myself to thinking that that made me happy. Yeah, it made me happy to a certain extent, but I was doing too much. And my therapist showed me a meme of a dad and a son, and the dad kept giving a piece to the son, and the next I guess like meme or whatever, it was like it was connected, so it was two memes in one big picture.
Okay.
So the first one was the dad giving a piece to the son, and then the second one was the dad having all these holes in his bodies, and the son had all these attachments of the dad's parts on him. So it was really showing that like the dad was, yes, I'm giving to my son, but I'm also losing a lot of me, you know what I mean? So I was
Mm,
like, the more
yeah.
you give, the more you lose yourself, really. And so I really
Right.
had to think about that. And I was like, dang, all this time that I was so worried about providing for my siblings, my parents. I gave up college to go to work to help my parents pay rent. Which, yeah, I'm sure my
Right.
parents appreciated it, but they didn't want that for me. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So
I don't. Yeah. Absolutely.
yeah, so I mean, I don't think any parent want their kids to help them because I don't know. It's like it goes back to the pride thing. It's like, nah, I'm supposed to be the one providing for my kid, not my kid providing for me. You know what I mean? I mean, regard if unless you get like super, super, super old, like 100 years old, and you can't do nothing. You
Right.
know
At
what
which
I
point,
mean?
bitch, I paid for your whole ass life. You better scrub my
Yeah,
toesies.
especially in my Polynesian culture and a lot of the black culture, like my friends, the moms, they always say like, "I brought you into this world, and I could take
I
you
can
out."
take you out of it. Dude,
Bro.
I am Caucasian and my mom.
Really?
I
Oh
was like,
man.
oh fuck yeah. I told you I'm from Georgia. She ain't fucking around. I'm surprised she didn't have a chocolate, dude. Like
Oh geez.
she's fierce, like fierce as hell. I'm like, oh my god, okay, sorry, mom.
Dang. No, but yeah,
But
so we talked about some differences with men and females, and we I think we talked a little bit about feminism, but I do want to bring you back on another episode so we could talk about feminism, and we could talk about how feminism plays or feminism, masculinity and relationships and all that stuff, and because it is a
we're
big
gonna start
subject.
some fights. Okay.
Maybe, I don't know, it depends on if we agree or not with each other. I mean, it's good because then you got a female perspective and I got a male perspective, and I'm sure you have an understanding of some male perspectives. I have an understanding of female perspectives. Like for me, it's I need
Yeah.
somebody. I need somebody to when I
I
talk to
mean,
someone
sorry.
when I when I talk to somebody about certain things, I am such an in between. I'm always like, I understand this and I understand that side. I'm on both
Independent.
sides. You know what I mean? But
You're
like,
dangerous.
how am I dangerous?
That's a dangerous game because I think more often than not, people who say, oh, I can hang out on the fence. I see them over here and over here. But the truth is, you're kind of leaning over here, but you don't want to piss off over here.
Yeah.
I think yeah, you gotta be true to you. Don't be afraid to be like, Kayla, you're fucking wrong. That's how I feel. And I mean, you can add, I appreciate why you think you're right, but this is why you're right. I mean, you just gotta, ah,
No,
and I
yeah.
won't take
So
no offense.
I can't do that though. But so because so, the thing is, so like there's podcasts out there, right? There's podcasts that
Mhm.
talk about feminism, masculinity, uh,
Yeah.
reasons why females, divorce men more compared to men divorcing women, all that stuff. Like, and when these people start talking about it, and they have their arguments about why females are right, their arguments of why males are right, I always look at both sides. So like in the beginning, yes, I am on the fence, and I take in both sides of the story, and then I analyze it and all that stuff. But for
Okay.
me, I look at it as a human perspective. I think of it like, does it benefit the
Yeah,
humanity? You know what I'm saying? I don't look at it as, it does it benefit men or does it benefit females? You know what I mean? So I think that's
bro.
why I'm always in the middle of the fence, because I always have a humanity aspect look on it. You know what I mean?
That's so deep.
Well,
Straight up.
welcome to the
How you
deep.
go about rolling down in the. That's how I feel right now. I'm like that. I love that though. I think it's authentic. I think it's very you. And I like that you're raw and you're honest about having to be accepting of the fact that there are always two sides, two perspectives,
Yeah,
and maybe there's not always a right or wrong in that.
yeah.
So that was beautifully put, man.
I mean, if something is right or completely wrong, then I acknowledge it. You know what I mean? Then I'm gonna be like, yeah, you were wrong, guy, or yeah, you were wrong, female. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like whoever the
Yeah,
fuck you are, that
yeah.
was wrong.
But no, yeah. So I would definitely like to bring you back on for another episode if that's cool with you. Because
Yeah, yeah.
we are running. Actually, we are short on time right now. So we are
Oh,
gonna
okay.
as we start to, like I always like to say, start to land this plane. We are getting to the end of the podcast. Again, I appreciate you, Kayla, for coming on, being a special guest on here. It was super fun. I'm glad that, obviously I could tell that you were having fun. What's more fun than talking and having a
Facts.
conversation?
There's nothing.
Nothing
Yeah.
other than playing games with your friends and, you know, you know,
Gaming's
doing
yeah,
other things that I enjoy doing. But this is very fun having a conversations, deep conversations.
indubitably. Oh, you know what? If I do you mind if I just say one more thing on the mental wellness
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Um, for anyone who's listening.
End the chapter.
Um, okay, yeah, I just want to say that, like Supa saying, it can be hard sometimes to identify it or acknowledge it or want to deal with it or to seek help. And for anyone who's feeling that way, I always try to recommend to people talk to your general physician first if you have access to one. You don't even have to go see like a psych or a counselor or a talk person, all the different things that people throw shade about. You can talk to your general or your primary care, and they're capable of treating a lot of that lower level general anxiety, depression, things where it's like you're dealing with it, but maybe it's not at a level where you got to even tread that water. At least talk to them because they may be able to help and it don't got to go nowhere else. Okay. And then the other thing I always like to mention is that if anyone is ever in an emergency, you can text 988, and that is a government facilitated crisis line. If you want to help but maybe not talk to somebody, or you can go to the website 988lifeline.org and you can chat there as well. If you're trying to find a provider in your area, there is a government site there that also provides access to financial assistance specifically for these things, and that is findtreatment.gov. So I just wanted to provide a couple of different resources there to wrap it up.
Perfect. I do have a quick question, and then hopefully
Mhm.
maybe you can give a quick answer. But why is it that people don't feel like they can talk to their parents or their siblings or the people that are close to them? You know what I mean? Like you would think that like that's the easiest people to go to, but I understand that like those are like the hardest people to go to. Like
Hmm.
why do you think that?
I'm like, that's 100% true. And I think it's because there's no such thing as just Supa, I feel like. Okay. So there's Supa 1, 2, 3, 4. There's Supa at school, Supa with his wife, Supa when he's by himself, we wear a lot of different masks to get through our day. And those masks are to create positive relationships. And who do we care the most about? Typically mom and dad are primary in our lives, and our whole lives we're trying to make sure that we're not disappointing them in most cases and be the best us because they know, we know the sacrifices they make and how much they love us, and we want them to see us as everything that they wanted us to be. We can't shake that, break that. Anyone but them, right? At least that's how I know a lot of people feel, and I myself have felt, where it's like, I don't give a shit who knows except not. That's the last place I want to go. And it's hard because you feel like they have a whole idea of how they know you. And shattering that is terrifying because there's so much behind that particular mask that I don't think people want. It's not a relationship you want to change that way because it's such a safe place that it's unsafe, right?
Right,
Does that make
right.
sense? Am I
No, it
putting
makes
it in a way
sense.
that makes sense? Yeah, and so I think that's the hardest thing, especially when there's tragedies and things that happen when they don't seek
Yeah.
help, is looking back and it's like, fuck, you have this whole network that people don't understand. That network,
Yeah.
that's not a network. It just seems like it, and that's why I
Yeah.
always try to tell people you don't got to talk to anybody. You can talk to a stranger.
Right,
Here's
right.
some random government resources because that's easier sometimes than even telling your best friend.
The
So.
crazy the crazy thing is your parents and your best friend, they're gonna be like, you should have told me. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
and it's like, no, I couldn't. I don't want you to judge me or think I'm different or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
talk to me different. Like I can't afford
The
that.
issue the issue there though, that's just us psyching ourselves out because yeah, we don't want to
Right.
yeah, we don't want to disappoint them. Yeah, we don't want to have them change their perspective on us, but 9 out of 10 times they're not going to change their perspective. They're not going to judge us. They're not going to
Nope.
be very critical on whatever. And some parents will, some friends will, but
Yeah,
especially with friends. I'm not going to say this about parents, but with friends,
for sure.
if they're not supportive and all that stuff or whatever, or they in deny or they're being in denial and then they just brush it off, then maybe they're not really your best friend.
I was about to say, anyone who starts that journey, get ready because you're about to learn a lot
Oh
about
yeah.
your circle.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So,
Well, yeah, that goes right down into where we're about to land this plane on this podcast. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. we're gonna end the podcast with the last words of Kayla. She's gonna give us one saying that you always try to live by.
So the one saying I try to live by, and I don't know if it's more of a saying or like a quote, but you are always one decision away from a totally different life. And that decision is up to you every day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And yeah, it
So,
really, yeah, if you really break it down, like it's such a simple thing, but it has such a big impact because
yeah,
they have those video games out there where you have two different decisions and then the story goes totally
right?
different.
Absolutely. And if you're not happy where it is, you can make that decision. You can make that change any
Yeah.
fucking day.
It's it reminds me of I love the Flash, and so I watched the Flash series on TV, and
Nice.
he tries to go back in time and he changes something, he makes a decision, and then it completely changes everything, and then like he tries to go back again and try to
Oh
put it
no.
back into place. The problem with that is when you go back again and you try to change it back to the way it was, it's not going to be the same. You know
Oh,
what I'm saying? Because like it's a
oh
totally different
no. Yeah.
it's totally different circumstance. Like once that decision is gone, it's gone. That predetermined path that was supposed to be if you made that first decision, it's already gone. It's like
Hmm.
poof, vanished. You know what I'm saying? So if you try to go back to
Yeah.
it, your mind is already changed, and so the path is changed already. You know what I'm saying?
That's stressful. That's
Right,
very, that's so Raven.
right. That's so Raven, bro. But
Life inception.
Well, yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. That is the end of the show, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Welcome to the Deep Podcast.